That spark of innovation, it's just waiting for the perfect combination of tools and talent to bring it to life. Welcome to Pitch, Build, Scale. I'm your host, Chris Fanchi, a recovering startup founder, veteran SaaS marketer, turned dev tech enthusiast and growth specialist. Each episode, we connect with the builders, the visionaries, and the problem solvers who are redefining what's possible with today's technology and pioneering the websites, apps, and software products of tomorrow. These are the conversations that transform how we build, how we sell, and how we scale technology businesses in a world where the tech evolves by the minute. Ready to stay ahead of the curve? This is Pitch, Build, Scale. Hello and welcome to Pitch, Build, Scale, the podcast where we unpack the stories and strategies behind today's most innovative AI, software, and application development agencies. I'm your host, Chris Fanchi, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by Arseniy Seroka, CEO of Serokell and Blooper.ai. Arseniy is a serial entrepreneur who's blending a master's in computer science with a degree in film directing. Yes, you heard that right. To lead cutting-edge teams and functional programming in AI. Arseniy, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Chris, for inviting me to join your podcast. It's my pleasure to have a nice future discussion right now with you.
Appreciate it. So let's kick things off with your journey. Can you tell me a little bit about what sparked your passion? Specifically, let's start with the software development side and go into a little bit of AI as well.
When I was around 17 years old, it was a very tough decision for me, where should I go? And one of the best options for me to go and study mathematics. And the decision was made just because the university was around the corner. So I've joined my university for mathematics for 6 years, actually bachelor and master's, computer science, all together with them. And that was my huge passion in my early years.
So what got you into the entrepreneurial side of things and starting your own business?
I'm a type of a person who usually tries to not follow just some trends, marketing analysis and research. For me, usually my decisions are based on my personal passions, preferences, and maybe sometimes you can even call it like a worldview. And for me, the journey started between my third and fourth year of university, because initially I wanted to become a researcher. I want to be a scientist in the field of mathematical logic, category theory, and all the things that are super abstract and could be useful maybe in 40 years after all the discoveries. But unfortunately, due to tragic events in my family, that was a very important decision for me to actually go and earn some money for my family. And because I was living and studying in Russia, it was a little bit complicated to make any kind of capital just by being a researcher, especially at the age of 21. So that was not just the personal decision that, I want to be an entrepreneur. Actually, I was always thinking, wow, who are those people who are doing business? It's so complicated. It's so like special type of mindset, and it was just a pure magic for me. And the moment when I've realized that, there are some things that I'm super passionate about, some programming languages that I want to use every day in my work, that it's a little bit hard for me to just actually work under someone. It's always just me, my partners, my friends, a group of people around me. We are working all together as just one, united part. That came up to idea that I told my friend, like, hey man, let's work together on some projects, make them, split money in a half. And that's how it all started with my first business, because the reasons for that was not that we want to disrupt the market, go all in with the technologies that we use. No, we basically wanted to make proper software. We wanted to have our piece of, of some bread to just have a nice food at home. And we were super passionate about some specific fields in computer science, especially functional programming in the language called Haskell. So we wanted to spread out information and give people as much as possible of this side of the things.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I noticed that Haskell is your focus, and that's definitely unique. getting into a lot more complicated types of projects. Know a lot of kind of projects that you guys feature, like in your case studies and on your website, are much more technically inclined. You're not building simple web apps. You're not building websites for people. You're really getting into the weeds and the programming. Can you tell me about how you found some of your first clients and how you're able to find use cases for your functional programming?
As I mentioned, I never ever thought of myself as a businessman at the beginning or entrepreneur or things like this. So no business plan, no investors, nothing. We're just like, initially our idea was basically try to find some freelancing projects and, just do it together. There was no intention to make any kind of a team, any kind of a business or company around it. But it turned out that one of my professors in my university, he was a good friend of mine. I told him like, hey, I kind of started something with my friend. We had no clients back there yet. And he's like, oh, I have some people, they were asking for developers and they need to create something. I don't know what, but you can just have a conversation with them and they will explain you all the things. And it turned out that these guys, they were coming from one of small cities in Russia, and they were actually related a little bit to, not criminal, I would say, but they were not like just proper white collar type of guys. And we initially were trying to create secure distribution of Linux where you were able to use it from the USB drive and just have it on any laptop. And after that, we were building with them cryptocurrency exchange server, and that was 2015, so before every crypto boom. And everything went well. So they were paying us for the first 2 months. We even hired our first 3 developers. They were basically our friends also. And then they were not paying us for 3 more months. And for us, that was not okay, of course. And we said that, the project is amazing. So we are going to publish it to open source because, it should be live somewhere. And after that message, in 5 minutes, I got a call like, hey, Arseniy, we know where you live. So we're going to come and explain you why you are not going to do this. And so in the end, we had no project and we had no money, and we owned around 17,000 euros to our first employees. And for us, there was an enormous amount of money because remember, I was coming from very problematic situation. My co-founder also wasn't like some super rich person, and for us it's like, okay, fuck, what should we do? We actually had to sell more than 20 bitcoins that we had personally for around $300 each, just to cover some parts of the debt. So back in the day, we didn't think about the pressure that in future you're going to have in the bitcoins. We were just trying to save our reputation. And this actually helped us a lot because we kind of believe in karma. And several months after that, we met the founder of one of the very huge cryptocurrencies, Cardano. We met Charles Hoskinson in one of the cities in Europe, and actually kind of started working with him when we had only 3 people in our company and he had only like 2 people in his company.
Wow, that's quite the story. It definitely explains why you're so big on open source. Obviously, your background with wanting to be in more of a research side of things. I see that you guys do a lot with researching. You do a lot with education on your website as well. So definitely that all tracks and makes a lot of sense how you ended up in that place.
Exactly. And me personally, I just wanted to mention me personally, back in the university years, I think once I even had a strike on a GitHub for 652 days in a row of committing to different open source projects.
My goodness, that's quite the streak. So you get those first clients, you're starting to get the bumps out. Where do things go from there? How do you then scale up to start getting more clients and reach the point where you're at today?
So, as I was mentioning, we met our next client from the crypto world in end of 2015 or beginning 2016. We successfully finished the test task and started to work on the other cryptocurrency. The point is that every time you do a business like this, if you don't have any connection in advance, for example, you were already working in the field of fashion tech, for example, it's just going to be very hard for you to go into this market and offer your services to work with some people. So if you are going to have this direction, it's always combination of your energy and luck. If we haven't found this person at the beginning, I don't think it's going to be easy for us to find something like this in the wild. But of course, in the future, we were scaling, we were increasing the capacities that we have in terms of developers. But in our business model, we were always trying to focus not just like, we had never ever worked as a body shop. We had never ever done any kind of outsourcing or outstuffing, because we understand that our power is our knowledge. Developers and engineers and researchers that we have are pretty smart guys. Some of them, they have PhDs, a lot of them, they have masters and coming from the academic parts of the world, because most of our customers, they were and they still are having a lot of very difficult questions. It's not a question like, hey, we need to make a website or just a new application with some basic logic of communication. No, our clients are usually coming to us with a question like, hey, no one knows in the world how to make this. Can you help us? And we understand that our capacity and our best side of representation, our best knowledge is around real research and real development. We know how to take a problem, we know how to decompose it, try to think about each part of it, and go inside and try to actually find answers. But of course, there are some projects where we tell like, hey, sorry, right now it's not possible to implement it this way, but we can think about the workaround, and we try to be as close as possible to the idea that you have in your mind. Because for us, it's not only about the projects that we do from scratch, it's also about clients that are coming with the request like, hey, we have a system, for example, internal exchange system for the bank. And they reached us out several years ago, and they said like, hey, we have the system inside. And for example, Arseniy is sending money to Chris with 1 second. Can you please do it in 0.5 second? Because no one else was able to do it. Of course, it's related to our core technologies, or like Haskell, functional programming, Rust. But in general, it's not only about the technology. Technology is just a tool. For us, it's about the way we use them, the process that we have inside, the way we think. I would even say like this. One of our main theses is that no matter what technology you use today, you must be able to learn anything in a very quick and fast manner, because the world is changing every day.
Yes, that is absolutely true. So where do you see technology going in the future? Obviously, you're kind of on the cutting edge with some of the tech that you're utilizing, and you've done the research. Where do you see things going? Because if you're just on social media, your new AIs, new technologies coming out, it seems like every day or at least every week. So where do you see things going in the next year or two?
Oof, that's a very tricky question that I try to answer together with my friends for quite some time right now. At the beginning, when all the LLMs were out, and by LLMs, I mean not just LLMs themselves, but the adoption that, for example, ChatGPT made. Because one of the amazing steps there was that they took a technology that was in the wild for like 2 years or something like this, and they made an amazing user interface. And so everyone's like, oh, we can talk with this thing like a chat. And so there was like the best adoption. And the moment it was out, we all were thinking, oh, it's gonna, like everyone, it's gonna substitute designers, engineers, some basic developers, all these kind of things. But of course, now the more we learn, the more we understand that it's not gonna be like this. At least like in 2 years, as you were asking. But I think anyway, we are going to change the way we develop things. We're going to change the way we are prototyping. the prototyping, I think, is the part of the industry that is going to change a lot in a very quick way soon. And it's not only because we can generate a lot of boilerplate code right now, but also because we don't need a lot of security. We'll need a lot of corner cases when we prototype things. And this very cheap and dirty way of doing things with AI is going to help us. But at the same time, we also will see the increase of so-called prompt engineers, people who know how to actually work around with AI. So I don't think I'm gonna, answer with some deep insights here and there, but in my opinion, we just discovered a new tool again. It's not like a new source of something, but with this tool we can find new sources of information, of paths, of workflow and processes, and of course a lot of workshops that are just doing outsourcing or outstaffing, they're not going to be that much on demand anymore. But I think there are going to be much more startups and companies that provide you, automatic, again, prototyping, automating, automatization of your MVPs and stuff. But at the same time, if you are working in the field where your real knowledge, where your real understanding of the thing is valuable, I don't think our AI models are going to be there pretty soon. And this expertise and this position of a human being that is still supervising, that is still combining a lot of things together, is gonna be with us for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been seeing a lot of instances where people have been taking on some of these AI development tasks. They've been trying to build things, even publishing them publicly, and then suddenly they're getting overwhelmed. They're getting attacked. They don't know that there's no security built in. They don't know what they're missing, and they put things out there, and it starts getting them into trouble. And that's where the higher level and more experienced engineers are going to come in, and they're going to have to fix these problems, because a lot of times people are getting ahead of themselves, thinking they can build something and not understanding the entire holistic picture of it, right?
Exactly. I also want to mention like a real example that we recently have. Some of our clients or potential clients for the last year are like, hey, I was talking with ChatGPT a lot and it was suggesting me like to go this direction, use this, use that, combine it all together, and voila, this is the project. And why you're going to work on this for 6 months instead of 1 month that I was proposed by the AI system. And we say like, of course, from the first point of view, like from the initial touch, it looks like you can just mix it all together. And we were doing it maybe a few years ago, and we know that it's not working this way, unfortunately, just because it's not designed to be this way. Or if you combine it, there's going to be a 7-year-old kid who will hack you in 1 second just because none of the security constraints are taken into account in this, for example, architecture or whatever. So yeah, a lot of the things are helping our customers to talk easier with us about the project, especially about the technical part of the project, but also at the same time, we need to learn much more polite way of saying no to our customer.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I see all these LLMs, they're trained on old data typically. They don't know what's coming next. They're not thinking about the future, they're thinking about what they've been told. And so if something was tried in the past and it worked, but it was, like you said, it was one of those Frankenstein solutions that was just patched together, then they're going to say that's the standard. And you need an engineer to come in and say, no, we can do this better now. There are better ways.
Exactly, you're super correct here, and also you understand that a lot of systems, especially in the world of development, there are so many small tricks and hacks that seems to be super obvious to people, and they usually don't write about this in the wild. And if there is no information about that in the internet, the system will not know that there is a connection or this is a much proper way of doing something. And how can you expect from AI model that we have right now to actually think how can we combine things? But just by design, they don't have any possibility to have any mind.
Right, exactly. So there's a lot of debate right now, especially in the AI space, about what do you make open source versus what do you keep internally, keep as your own IP. How do you guys balance that?
Oh, this is a tricky question. So by default, we try to propose all of our customers to go with open source. We really like Mozilla public license in terms of all the points. But to be honest, for the last years, we started in 2015. So right now it's going to be 10 years for the company this summer. Interesting. I forgot about this. So thank you very much. I would say that for all of these years, the number of closed source projects is going down just because people understand that just by stealing the code, you don't get the idea of the code, you don't get the possibility to expand it, you don't get the knowledge behind the team and everything like this. And of course, having an open source project, especially if it's used in the field that is related to people, to health, to maybe like transportation, money, crypto, finances, is sometimes very crucial, because if you work especially in the B2C sector, you need to show to your clients like, hey, we're good ones. We're not going to really use your data in a bad way or something. Of course, there are a lot of tricks, and to be honest, we all know how to combine different parts of the projects. But generally speaking, right now, most of the companies, they really try to give their powers to the world of the development, because if you have a good open source project, someone can look at your code, he can replicate it, or they can just understand the logic and send you a patch note. For example, recently we were working with one of the French government related software projects, and on the side note, we were using the project that is related to the French government ID system, and they have it open source. And we basically, and there was a small problem that was related to some weird distribution of Linux, and we just sent them a patch note, they accepted it, and now the world is a little bit better.
That's great. And that's definitely the way I think things should work, right? And when you can find those opportunities to make things better for everybody, you're sharing the code bases off basic languages and things like that. And there are a lot of opportunities to make it work better for everyone. Then by all means, that's not something you should hold on to and just try to take advantage of for your own financial benefit, right? So obviously you guys work in very specialized systems. It's much less common than, say, Python or most of these primary frameworks that people are using and are familiar with. How has that affected your ability to scale up? So finding new clients, finding new employees or team members that can work in those frameworks and be able to deliver the kind of work that you guys want to do.
So, we, in the sense, were very unbalanced. It was super easy for us to find, and it's still super easy for us to find employees. Why? Because a lot of people, they have their work related, for example, to Python. But Python sometimes is not the best language for a person if this person is going much more in the research or mathematics, and they just want to use a little bit of magic inside of their development. And as a hobby, they are really into languages like Haskell, Rust, where they can really do some kind of tricks and unleash their creativity in terms of programming. And because there are not that much companies in the world that are offering positions for functional programming, we had and we still have very good, incoming flow of people who want to work with us, just because we are going to give them possibility to use their favorite technology, not just for fun, but also for fun and money. And in this sense, this is very cool for us. Also, just because we don't only work on commercial projects, we also contribute back to the ecosystems of our favorite tools like Haskell and Rust. We create our own, for example, Haskell certificate program for developers that right now we are working on together with the Haskell Foundation. That's the biggest foundation around Haskell, basically. And at the same time, we understand that when you try to find the client And initially, of course, when we were young, we were like, hey, let's work with the Haskell. It's the best language. It's very, has very big robustness. It's very stable. Of course, the development with Haskell is going to be a little bit more expensive, but overall cost of the project, overall, like the cost of your product that you will have in the end with the security, with the support, it's going to be smaller, just because with Haskell, it's easier for you to scale the code base, to extend it, to add more features, and to refactor it. But, most of the clients, they don't care about the technology, they care about the price they will pay if they need to change the developers, if they need to change the architecture, or, they just heard something in the internet that today we need to add new feature of having green sofa in your code base, whatever that means. And in Haskell, there is, for example, no green sofas. There are no sofas in Haskell. They are only in Python. I'm just randomly making these names. But you understand that, unfortunately, in this world, it was very hard for us to really convince people to go with these technologies. So in the end, we understood that our model is not to sell the position that we are experts in these languages. We started to sell that we are experts in fields. That's why, for example, right now we are scaling very much our fields of biotech, our fields of fintech, and our fields of crypto. And by all of these projects, I mean that we are working we're working together with our companies and partners on the projects where we're not making a website for the biotech research department. We're working together with, for example, breast cancer researchers, where we analyze their data and we produce our predictions. Or we are working with banking systems, like, for example, this idea of the exchange servers. Or if we speak about crypto, for us it's not yet another coin related to some NFT or something. For us, it's a crypto system where we need to talk with some universities, where we need to create a whole platform, where we try to really shift the way this game is played. So we understood that the initial business model of being experts in languages is not needed outside of some super specific projects, but understanding of being experts in the fields, it's worth it. And right now we still use these technologies. We still, sell them because we think that they're best for our client. We're not doing this just because it's our religion or something. Of course, we believe in it, but we also believe that in the end, our client is going to be the happiest person in the world. And, that's all for this.
Yeah, absolutely. So technical solutions require technical clients that can understand what you're delivering, what you're offering. That makes a lot of sense. So from there, let's talk a little bit about what is your favorite project you've worked on. Tell me a little bit more about Blooper.ai as well.
When you just asked this question, I was actually thinking that most of the projects where I was working on, they were related to our clients and customers. And in some of them, I was very, very much involved, like, for example, the Cardano cryptocurrency. In some of them, I was just helping our clients with questions related to business and development. Communication. But first time in my life, I actually decided to make a startup, and it started a year ago, because initially Serokell, that has never ever been a startup. Serokell was business from the beginning. There were no investors and there are still no investors, but we were able to grow from me and my co-founder to around 95 people right now. And it's helped us to open offices in Estonia, in France, and even in Los Angeles. Most of us were working remote since the beginning, but we still have these places together to discuss, to brainstorm. But the point of Blooper was not to try to make a startup. As you were mentioning from the beginning, I have a degree in filmmaking. I was studying for movie directing for 2 years. And that started as a hobby. I was trying to make my short films. Some of them, they were accepted to international film festivals. I even got some prizes. That was a huge surprise for me. But while working in this field that is super, super far away from development, I've realized that the processes of making a movie are pretty similar to the process you're trying to build a company. They're pretty similar in terms that you need to think about the project plan, you need to think about all the team members, you need to think about actors, you need to think about people who will create the scene, the camera people, and I was just using my experience in running a business together with my creative view, and one of the first thing I've asked my crew when I was making my first short movie is like, hey, what software you use to manage all of this? Because there are a lot of things. For example, my first short movie, it was only 2 actors, 1 location, but there were around 27 people around this location and these actors. And I was asking them like, hey, maybe use Google Documents or Notion or something. And so like, no, we just use maybe WhatsApp group, maybe email, maybe something. And I was like, okay, this could not be true. I finished my movie, and that was around 3 years ago, and I was still having this discussion somewhere in the back of my mind. And I moved to Paris after I was making this movie. And in Paris, I've met a lot of people related to film industry, and sometimes I was asking them, like, how do you work? What is the process? I met a lot of script writers, producers, directors, directors of photography. Most of the people that are participating in a movie, and no one has told me about any like system or some process. All of these things, they were happening randomly. Some people were using really like pens and papers. Some of them, they were using Google Documents. Some of them, after that I started a small discovery process. And for example, once I was even talking to a very huge cinema company from Hollywood. We all know it, but I'm not able to mention it. And they said like, we're sending documents by email, we print them out, we write our notes with a pencil, we take a photo and send it by WhatsApp. And I was like, what? And these guys, they made the movies that you definitely have seen a lot in the movie theaters, etc. I was like, really? I was like, yeah, this is our normal process. Like, of course, we take care about security. We have our own email server, whatever, but generally we don't care. And so after that, I had told this idea to my friends, Michelle and Ivan, and because we all are super much into cinema and we all are super much into computer science. And we made more than 100 interviews, and it turned out that yes, there is a problem that in the world of filmmaking, video making, advertisement making, musical clips making, there are no standards, there are no processes how you can really manage the data. And okay, maybe you don't need it because it's a creative process, you just go and make it. But with the modern technologies, with the technologies of AI, prediction, some optimizations and algorithms, you can really save up a lot of time, energy, you can make things much more strict, you can make things much more formal and easier for all people around you to look at them, to read, to comment, to edit, and to actually came up to your common idea. So basically Blooper was the result of this process of combining my knowledge of film industry and computer science. And basically Blooper is this software that is helping to turn your script into the full idea how to actually make it. Where you should put your camera, how you should take your actors and make the scene, how you can combine your shots, how they should potentially look like, what kind of location you can find in the city, where in the rental you should go and take all the necessary equipment, props, how you can combine them on the stage. So all of these processes, they are routine. They're not, requiring your creativity. So Blooper is helping people to take the routine, take this problem of initial steps, suggest how it should look like, and then you just take it from there.
That's so fascinating. It's amazing, these massive companies, each major blockbuster movie, they set it up as its own independent company, basically, so that they all have their budgets and things like that. So it's amazing that they've never put the money and the resources into technology software to make it more efficient like that. So do you have plans to integrate AI? like video development or any kind of AI images, that kind of stuff into it so that people could actually use the platform to make a movie?
That's a very good question. So, how the process looks like right now? You write a script. A person is going down the street buying an ice cream and saying the world is beautiful. After that, you need to break down the script into several parts. The first shot, the person is walking the street. The second one, he's taking out his wallet. The third one, he is talking to the guy in the ice cream shop. And the last one, he is holding his ice cream and saying this phrase. After that, you need to think about the visualization. You actually need to draw each of the shot, and not just because it will help you to understand how it looks like, but you need to follow a lot of rules of compositions, a lot of rules of the movement inside the shots. For example, if person is going to the left, the next shot he needs to go from the right. You need to think about the frame sizes, because if you mix some frame sizes like close-up with a semi-close-up shot, eyes of human being will recognize that you are trying to trick him. So you think about all of these things. After that, you need to think about all the props. In our case, that's going to be an ice cream, some clothes, an ice cream machine or whatever. And after that, you need to think about the equipment, where to put the light, what kind of lenses to use, what kind of a camera. You combine it all together, you think about the logistics, the people, you think about where you're going to shoot, what kind of a street in your city, where's going to be the sun, what's going to be the situation about the light. So, like in a software development, you need to think about all the requirements and specifications. Then you do the description of your potential architecture, then you do kind of a prototype. And only after all of these things are set in place, you actually start to develop some things. Here's the same process as I was mentioning. And Blooper is helping to automate most of these things. As I was mentioning, we are trying to generate pictures related to all the rules. We're trying to help you with the list of props and equipment, and we assist you how to choose the best location, because you're going to be surprised how AI knows our world right now. And of course, we use some APIs, like we use ChatGPT to process text. But for example, for image generation, it's impossible to use Midjourney or DALL-E to generate an image for the storyboard. Because if you ask DALL-E, generate me a person from the back buying an ice cream, it's not gonna work. It's just going to be, there's going to be a person, ice cream, but they will probably 100% look into the camera. There's going to be no cinematic feeling out of this picture, and it's usually going to be like 35 millimeter shot. So we are using some open source models. We are training them and fine tuning them to actually work in the direction of cinema fill, work in the direction of proper frame sizes and things like this that are necessary for this process. So yeah, we are integrating AI. We're building our own AI models, not building, fine tuning and trying to make them as fast as possible. And for us, Blooper, it's AI powered tool for pre-production, because again, AI is just a tool, and we're using AI as a part of our engine to help our clients to get this best platform where they can manage all the possible data. And if they don't want to use AI for generation, they can just manually upload or do whatever they want with their own information.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, well, I think that's everything I've got for today. I really appreciate it. It's been a great conversation. I really appreciate you coming on and taking this fascinating dive into your world, code, cinema, and everything. Before we wrap, do you have any parting thoughts or advice for agency leaders or developers that are listening who want to build and scale their own ventures?
First of all, again, thank you for invitation. It was my pleasure. And as a final advice, I would say try always to work from your passions and from your heart. Because if you talk to someone and this person, they can feel that you're really passionate about the project, passionate about your technology, your work, your team, it's working much better rather than just like telling him, oh, that's going to be the best price on the market. No, just try to open your soul and your heart, and everything is going to work out.
Fantastic. And can you tell everyone where they can find you?
Yeah, you can always find me on LinkedIn. You can always find us on Serokell.io and Blooper.ai. And would be great to talk with all the people who have questions after this podcast.
Fantastic. Thanks again for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Pitch, Build, Scale. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast provider so you never miss an episode, and we'll see you next time.